Greetings and welcome to a Prayerful Pause. I am Nancy Woodworth-Hill and amongst other things a spiritual director. Today we will look at a practice called holy leisure or sacred idleness. I've even heard it called holy idleness. Here's a quote from George MacDonald. Work is not always required of a man. There is such a thing as sacred idleness, the cultivation of which is now fearfully neglected. Holy leisure or sacred idleness is the practice of stepping out of life's frantic pace long enough to linger in God's presence. Holy leisure needs to be cultivated because it just doesn't happen on its own. We often think that when we're done with getting everything done, then we can rest in God's presence. It is often in these times that idleness asserts itself, speaking to a mind or body that is on overload. Yet, these times of idleness are not sacred or restorative. They are filled with worry and fretting and indecision. They're uncreative. They're approaching lifeless and filling our minds with busyness that drains rather than restores. Gerald May, a psychologist and spiritual director, suggests that our efficiency orientation makes unhurried times for rest feel selfish, irresponsible, and lazy. We know we need rest, but we can no longer see the value of rest as an end in itself. It's only worthwhile if it helps us recharge our batteries. It's important to realize that unhurry and laziness are not the same. Jesus knew how to leave the business of life behind so that he could be with God. These periods of time left him able to be attentive and engaged. Thus, Jesus was unhurried, but not lazy. He lived purposefully. He was hardworking. He was conscientious. The challenge for us is to carve out time to be unhurried, open to a rest that becomes a place where life can be conceived. We are meant to work from this place of rest and not rest from work. This resting place and time is the place where we receive the wisdom to know what to do and what not to do. It's a place where our roots are watered and nourishment is given to our bodies, our hearts, and our minds in the form of being present in our body, receptive in our hearts, and spacious and knowing in our minds. The harsh reality is that sacred leisure is necessary and important. There may need to be a trade-off with the other harsh reality of our life's activities in order to cultivate the landscape of our lives for fruitfulness. The thorns of this and that may need to be weeded out. Discernment, an intentional decision-making process, is called for. We have all had seeds of potential placed in us. These seeds need sacred idleness to germinate, to grow, to bear fruit in our lives. We must take time to care for them, which is done with resting in God. This is an intimate place to be, where we can sink into the beauty and the love of the Divine One. Nothing is demanded of us other than being intentional about visiting this space where we rest and where we are restored. So here's the practice. There's a good bit of preparation involved. You need to choose a time and a place to cease work and to enter into this sacred idleness, this holy leisure. If you wish, and if you know yourself may need it, consider crafting a small ritual to be used on beginning and ending. It may vary by the needs of the location. Could be just attending to your breath, or a prayer, or making the sign of the cross. it would likely be helpful not to be in a place of work, whether that's one's kitchen, a regular workplace, or anywhere in between. Perhaps it is helpful to think of this as a mini retreat, a time to seek God's presence with no agenda other than to rest in it. So here's the practice. If it's helpful to you, mark the beginning of this time. It can be done, as I mentioned, a prayer, time of centering, a walk, whatever you decide, whatever is comfortable for you. The goal is to mark the transition from the hecticness of life into this time of sacred leisure. And once you've done this, just be. Perhaps you can watch the riches of nature unfold, or listen to birdsong or music. Consider sitting quietly, letting your body, heart, and mind seek divine presence. Whatever works for you. And it's worth experimenting. When your time is ended, and perhaps you wish to use a timer if you need, and you don't have to keep looking at your watch, allow gratitude to arise for the time spent in the divine presence. Know that the richness of this time of sacred leisure is not measured by what has been produced, by what in you has been enriched by dwelling in the divine presence. Here's another quote. Suppose we went at a slow enough pace to feel our bodies, to play with children, to look openly, without agenda or timetable, into the face of loved ones. Suppose we took time each day to sit in silence. I think if we did these things, the world wouldn't need much saving. It's from Donella Meadows. If this video has been helpful to you, please consider sharing it. Go in peace.